like, okay, well, like, find some money to increase the pot, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so we were grateful we were able to get that increase to $1 million because of our advocacy work. So now more people can take advantage of the Pay As You Save program, and be able to do what they need to do to upgrade their homes if they don't have the income to do it. So that was a squad win. I'm excited about that.
Yeah.
But the other thing, though, we talked about earlier, 60% of our community is not a homeowner; they're renters.
Yeah, and
so
I'm
they're
sure
at the mercy.
Further that,
yeah, they're probably higher, and they're at the mercy of landlords, who are the property owners.
That don't want to upgrade their property, don't want to put any investment into it, and a lot of times don't want to be, kind of dealing with paperwork or stuff that kind of opens them up, as far as getting into these governmental programs and things like that. So, again, how do we find those ways to benefit those folks who are hurting?
Because another thing we found too was a lot of these property owners aren't even in this community. Like they buy portfolios or they buy whole properties, and they're somewhere in Nevada, Arizona, New York that own properties here in Albany, and it's just a line item on their investment portfolio. But here in Albany, that's real lives, and so they're not taking care of their properties, or they have like just really bad property managers that are really not taking care of these properties, and they're getting older and older. Like you said, many of these multifamily duplexes, complexes were built like way back in the early 80s, 90s. And so they don't want to put the money, they don't want to put the money into what it would take to rehab this. And so whose job is it to hold those folks accountable?
Well, it falls back on the commission, of course, but a lot of times the ordinances or state law doesn't allow us to hold them directly accountable, because a lot of these folks are under the auspices of the real estate lobby
they all
in
own
Atlanta.
Properties themselves.
And they're here. I mean, we got folks living right here in our community. Black and white landlords who own property.
There are political leaders that are sitting on commissions that own like several properties.
Absolutely.
And renters.
I don't see what to do too much shade. I don't ran out.
We thought we were gonna be shady today, y'all.
I was trying not to, but
listen, this you gotta do. What you gotta say, what you said. When we're here, we got more for you.
Oh my gosh, you gave me a whole nother.
We're gonna keep it shady.
I'm gonna have to hold back too, because I'm diabetical. So
this is really.
And we got more shade to go. So
we got plenty more shade to go. So we have lawmakers, commissioners, political leaders who are real estate owners themselves. So of course they're not going to make laws to govern themselves and make it harder for them to make money, or make it where they have to spend a lot of money to fix up these homes.
Right. And
so that's the unfortunate truth there.
Yeah, and that's really where, for me, philosophically, where it gets back to is how important is profit to you to kind of keep things in this thing where people are just barely getting by. You got yours, you are making your money, or you're comfortable, but whatever business you do or however things operate don't work for a lot of people. And a lot of the issues that we have in Albany is because we've kind of developed a mentality that I got mine, I don't have to worry about that over there. But you're quickly seeing that it's going to eventually be at your door. It's going to affect you, your business, your community, and we're seeing that. That's just not Albany. That's kind of a worldwide problem, and I think we have to have a mentality shift away from thinking that runaway profits, runaway capitalism is going to solve everything. We have to, at some point, realize that we're going to have to find a way to share in what we have, so everybody can see some type of benefit and a real opportunity to better their lives.
Absolutely.
That's what we got to get to.
And I want to say to folks too, y'all, there is a lot of profit in poverty. People just really don't understand. Like, that's why people keep things the way that they are, because they know that I can charge $800 to $1,000 a month. And while these people are struggling, they're going to find a way to pay this bill, and that makes more money for me.
Absolutely.
So yeah, it's like, it's so gross. But I want to shift one more time, because people, black folks, a lot of times don't believe in climate change.
Yeah.
That ain't real. I don't know why y'all keep out here talking about climate change. The Lord hadn't changed no climate. But that's not true. So here in Albany, we have experienced some craziness when it comes to the weather.
Yeah, you gotta know it.
We have had floods. We had one in 94. They said there was a 100-year flood, and it came back again in 98.
No, but here's the thing. Y'all got to know something wrong. I left town. I kind of saying it, but when I saw that the hurricane was coming into Albany, the city limits, at a Category 3.
Category 4.
It was Category 4. And I mean, what else do you need to know about climate change?
We've never seen
2
something
hours,
that powerful come that far in
a Category 4? I mean,
never.
Hit the Albany city limits, and it's like, you know, folks just like go right back.
They just like don't believe it. Or like we had 2 straight line wind tornadoes that hit within 2 weeks of each other in our community. And so the impact that had on people's homes as well, because we still to this day have people living in trailers that I remember were put here from the flood in 94. People think I'm crazy when I say that, but I remember when they dropped those trailers here. And then I remember I still see people with blue tarps on their roofs from like 2017 when the first tornadoes hit, and then again in 2018 when the Hurricane Michael hit. And so that again deteriorates the housing stock, right? So because people can't afford to fix their roofs, they can't afford to repair their homes, and so you got holes in homes and good air coming out of the homes, right? And so that's driving up your high utility rates as well. So
and then it's staying hotter in the summer
and colder in the winter.
So that keeps your utilities running. And we do have to talk about, in the black community, we do have to talk about the environment, climate change, carbon footprints. I know a lot of people don't know about those things, and how we can do things to reduce the effect on the atmosphere so that we can have a stable climate. I tell people to look back at what was going on during the pandemic when everybody sat down, stopped flying, stopped driving. Right. The whole atmosphere was different.
Changed. Everything was cleaner.
You could feel it, you could smell it, and us moving around our day by plane, train, and automobile definitely has an effect on our world, and it affects our bottom line when we talk about climate change, hot, cold, whether or not we're going to keep our air on all day, just to,
And I want to say, like, climate change impacts everyone, right? Everybody under the sun is going to be impacted by climate change. But how we address it in certain communities is environmental racism. Racism, I think people are like, how in the world is the environment impacted by racism? But it is, like, every system in America is impacted by racism. And so the utilities issue is a way that we see that being played out. Environmental issues is a way that they're being played out. And so I just I'm so grateful to you coming and helping unpack this conversation, because I know how complex it is, how confusing it is to explain to people, especially like it took me 2 years to understand just all of the layers to this crisis. And unfortunately there's no easy answers. I want to talk solutions for a moment. If there are any, what would you see as a solution?
Well, first of all, we have to start with what we can control. We have a public utility that is accountable to the people, and we need to start making them accountable. And that starts by saying to the city of Albany that, we need the Albany utilities to be a help to people and not a burden to people. And, those things that we control as far as our budget, you need to be making sure those benefits go more directly to our citizens and solve this issue of people having these $800 utility bills. They have to change that paradigm. And
so how you can do that, hopefully this airs in time.
Right.
We have fought because the utilities meetings are like usually at 8 o'clock in the morning.
Right.
Found out because that was to accommodate somebody's golf schedule.
Yeah, literally.
So we fought to have them change the time. And so thankfully we finally got that. The first utilities boards meeting is going to be held at 6 o'clock, April 27th, here in our community. We need y'all to flood the commission meeting. I want everybody there. Show up. and let these people know how you really feel about these utilities. So that's one way, like being engaged, coming to these meetings, hearing the decisions that we're making. What are what is another solution before we wrap up?
Well, I would like for folks to just more or less get an understanding of how I guess how these arguments are working, because we have people saying stuff like they charge us more on one side of town than they do on the other, and a lot of times that kind of short circuit the arguments because that we just don't have any evidence that says that. So we need to understand the issue. If we need to upgrade our housing stock, help us on that part. If we need to redirect some money, help us on that part. But if we keep kind of coming with arguments that are not based in fact, they just kind of switch us off like y'all talking crazy or whatever. So, I get it.
I don't believe we're talking crazy. I just think we have to figure out how to aggregate that data, and that's something we're going to be working on in the coming months, because it is showing that there is better housing on certain sides of town.
Right, that's why.
And there are other sides of town that helps to that impacts the high utility rate. So that, I think, is what the language you're saying people need to say, versus just saying it's just this side of town that has the higher
bills. Yeah, and there's other things coming. Like we got the AMI thing, they've been slow dragging their feet with that. They're supposed to let you track your utility bill on your phone, how much usage. They know that's going to help people control their bills. So
it's been real slow.
It's been so slow. They said that was supposed to be done my first year in office. I'm about to be up for re-election.
And we still haven't got it done. So they're really slow about these solutions, unfortunately, y'all, because they really don't think they have an impetus to get this done. That's why you got to show up. You got to say something, and you got to let them know, get these solutions done immediately so that we can lower these bills, because they're not moving slow on sending that bill to your mailbox, right? So they should be moving quickly to get these solutions so that we can have what we need in our community to take this burden off of people when it comes to utilities. We can talk forever. There's so many things that I didn't get to say, but we don't have the time, unfortunately. So will you come back and continue this conversation?
This wasn't bad. I'm okay.
It's not bad.
I thought you were going to get me in trouble. But,
this is what we do. So thank you so much for joining us on the porch. New South is still rising. We're not going to let these high utility bills stop us from rising, y'all. So again, thank you all so much for being on the show. Share this with people that are being impacted by high utility rates. And even if they're not, we need more voices, more activists that are out here fighting this issue for Black communities. So like and share our page, make sure you subscribe, and come join us here on the porch as we continue to have conversations about the impacts of life, what's happening around Black folks in the rural South. So thank you all for being here, and we'll see you on the next show.